Morning, Walla. Okay, good morning. This is Mike Pisani. It is July 1st. Happy first day of July, everybody. And for those in the States, happy long 4th of July weekend. And this is a webinar on institutional flow and summer option trading. We're also going to go over the market, kind of how this stands now. So we got quite a bit to get through this morning. So let's get started. So my disclaimer, day trading, short-term trading, option trading, and futures trading are extremely risky undertakings. They generally are not appropriate for someone with limited capital, little or no trading experience, and or low tolerance for risk. Never execute a trade unless you can afford to and are prepared to lose your entire investment. All trading operations involve serious risk and you can lose your entire investment. No trades are recommendations or advice and we cannot be sued for loss of capital. All trades are for educational purposes only. Contact your broker or RIA for execution margin and other capital requirements. Everyone watching this presentation adheres to all disclaimers of optionhacker.com, alphashark.com, and myself, Mike Pisani. All right. Oh, you guys all have good weather. Well, it's kind of cloudy and hot and humid out here in New Jersey. So, but I'm going to get out of here as soon as we get done with this webinar, get outside and do some things, spend some time with my daughter today. So topics today, I want to talk to you guys about trading in the summer. It really is something different than what we're used to. And if you haven't done it before, or you've done it, maybe a little tips that'll help you out. We're going to go over the sentiment in the markets right now and where the markets are currently at. We're going to look at option activity this week that I still think looks good moving forward from here. Things I would look to play. I always touch on my service offerings. And if we do have time, guys, I will pull up your charts. So we'll see how far we get through and how many questions we have today. Sound good? Let's really jump in here. So summer trading, it really is a different ball game. It's very different from everything else. So some of the characteristics of summer trading is volume, first off, or really lack thereof. And, you know, we saw this very much yesterday again, although we had very good volume at the end of the day yesterday. Most of it came in the beginning and the end of the day. And really what we start to see is a big time drop in volume in the markets. Not a lot of traders around. Most of the guys are out in the Hamptons, especially all next week. And there's just not a lot of big money flowing in or looking to do things unless there's movement in some direction, unless something happens. Chop. Another thing everybody says, I'm getting chopped up, I'm getting chopped around. Below is a chart of Apple from yesterday, right? That was Apple's daily range. You take out that first candle, that first 5-minute candle, and we basically traded in a very narrow, tight, choppy range all throughout the day. And algos love to trade pennies, guys, right? They love that. They will go out there and they will try to get you going one way and then pull the other way. And they just sit out there and they'll go back and forth in these. And the other characteristic is many markets get range bound. We saw this last summer before Brexit sell-off, where we get very narrow, tight ranges in the indexes themselves. And underneath, a lot of the equities stay there themselves. So you just get very range bound during summer and low volumes. So what should you not do? So the first thing I want to tell you guys is don't chase candles, especially if you're a short time frame trader. If you're day trading on a 1 or 5-minute chart or something like that, don't chase those big candles. That chart's yesterday, the BABA chart. You see these, if you can see them, you had this candle and this candle here. If you chase those in either direction, you're not a happy camper, right? You have to buy weakness. Like the 140 buy was a good buy yesterday on BABA. It would have been one of the better trades of the day. If you'd held it, you could have gotten almost $1.50, maybe a little bit more out of $1.75 out of it. But chasing candles like this is what algos love to do. They'll pop it and then pull it right away. So you got to be careful chasing candles. You have to buy, don't buy resistance, right? Again, chasing candle into resistance here. You see it pulled both times. Algos love to get retail to chase. They want to chase you up into these areas, get you trapped, and then pull it out from underneath you and make their money, especially in the options market, right? That little move right there, you're already really red if you bought up into these candles. You bought and chased these. And do not expect big moves. I'm not saying they don't happen because they do happen, but look for singles and doubles and take profits. If you're going in something and you're looking for a 20% gain on your options, have a sell order in there or take part of it there or get a stop up real close to there very quickly once you get it. The markets are looking to take your money. There's not a lot of volume. They'll take whatever they can get. And the algos are just searching to take you out. They want to give misdirection. They want to take retail's money because the big guys aren't playing. It's all algorithms and retail here. Make sense? You guys still awake? Am I boring you already? All right. What to do? Buy time, guys. Try to avoid weekly options. They love to burn premium in the summer. So if you're buying, if you're buying weekly options and you're going to get no movement, you're just going to be decaying away, and you're going to be miserable. Buy support. If there's no volume selling, it's probably nothing going on. So if you're seeing like these moves in BABA where there's no volume on those dips, it's just algos. Buy them at support. Buy when you get to the weak spot or hit a line where you know support. You're probably better or not often than not going to be good buying it there. And widen your playlist. We all love to trade Facebook, Tesla, Apple, Google, Amazon, BABA, Netflix. Pick your names. Look elsewhere. They're showing some signs, and we're going to go over. They've been looking to rotate into banks. Energy's been seeing some play, some specific names. Just different type of stuff going on. Widen your list. They like to go into unknown names. They like to go under really what's called the underbelly of the market. These are these stocks that nobody's paying attention to, and you'll see them diving into in options. Elizabeth, yeah, the big guys will absolutely come back if something big occurs. And they'll play in specific names, but they don't look to play the market so much, right? They're not going to be going back and forth. Algos never go on vacation, my friend. They're just sitting there all the time, and there's nothing we can do about them. Would be nice, wouldn't it? So yeah, big guys will come back if there's an event or something. And plus, we're about to head into earnings seasons. Yep, I do use volume. You can see when they come in by looking at the volume. You can see when they're around. You'll know it. You'll see the market has momentum that day in either direction. What else to do? Play events, guys. You have earnings are starting. We kick off earnings season, right? It's about to kick off. Banks kick off first. I think it was Wells Fargo's Chase's next Friday. Play events. You can look for run-ups into earnings, especially maybe in some of the beaten up names. Maybe they run back up into earnings a little bit more. Names like Google, maybe. Keep an eye on it. And then play them after. There'll be volume. So if a stock has earnings that night, the next day, there's going to be volume in there. There'll be places to play on that day. You can play them at that point and see what they're doing. Also play volume and momentum. Sneaky option flow and news are really good friends in summer. Yesterday, I caught a really sweet trade in Hershey because somebody came in, very sneaky option buyer, bought a couple hundred calls at first into next week's 108 calls, which is very unusual for Hershey, and look at that move. Nice quick move. Look at the volume came in with it, and you got this nice quick clean little move in it. So when you're playing it in summer, you got to look for where they're playing. If your favorite stock has no volume or nothing going on in that day, don't play with it. Look around. Look for names that are going on. Look for that. Follow people like myself who calls it out. Go into chat rooms where they're doing that. Look for places where people are looking for momentum and looking for volume. So, in the short summer, trade smaller, trade lighter, be much more careful with your trades, and buy time. Be patient. The longer summer goes on, the worse volume is going to get. August is typically really, really bad, especially as the last 2 weeks as we head into September. By the way, everybody who thinks September is a great month in the markets, September is usually one of the worst months of the year in the markets in terms of down moves. Just put that in the back of your mind. I'm not saying we're going to sell off there. I'm not trying to say I'm bearish or anything. But everybody seems to think the big guys come back and we rock in September. Usually the big guys come back and we have some type of pullback or corrective action in September. Would I have played Nike yesterday, Don? We can go over that when chart time comes. I didn't touch Nike yesterday, but it was definitely playable yesterday. But I wasn't looking to do much yesterday, Don. I was pretty much decided I was going to mostly sit on the sidelines and I was only going to trade for a half a day. But Nike was definitely a name I would have looked to play during the summer on a day like yesterday. It's a great example. Had a big move up, gave a pullback where you could have gone in and then even got into some more of it. So any questions on summer, anything you guys also want to hear, any questions? I mean, really just look for volume, look for momentum. You know, the other thing is Micron had earnings last Thursday night. You know, if your favorite stock had earnings, and look to play names that may move on sympathy. If Facebook has, you know, if Facebook runs, Twitter may do something with it. So, you know, you can try looking at different names like that. All right. That's my little teaching session. So sentiment, guys. Fred, I don't use MACD for momentum. I just use it as an indicator whether we're getting overbought or oversold on short-term timeframes. Some people love the MACD. I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's late. My personal belief is the MACD is always a late indicator of momentum's coming in and a late indicator of when it's leaving. I like to look at the CMF indicator. If you watch my charts on Twitter, you'll see it. That is the chalk and money flow. It shows you when money's coming in or coming out, often an indication of when a stock's going to turn. Big money's often selling as the stock's going up and retail is buying it. Okay, so we're starting to slip a little bit more bearish on sentiment. The fear and greed index, we're down 49. We've been down as low as 47, but we can't get a flush. You know, the one thing that we're missing in this market that we cannot get is a flush in the sentiment that we're looking for. You know, we're trying to go that direction, but we just can't get a good move down into that area that would bring buyers back in. You know, we're seeing it in other places. So, you know, this is again a very simple thing, but it's easy to look at. Stock twits their sentiment on the ETFs. They do it on every index. So on the SPY, we are 48% bullish and 52% bearish. When I first started showing you this about a month ago, we were 70% bullish. So we've dropped big here. We're very low. This is an area we could start to see some sentiment switch here in. On the Qs, we're 52% bullish. We were 80% bullish about a month ago. So we've seen a really big change here at this point in sentiment in the markets. The oscillators continue to be absolutely no help in this market right now. You can see now for the last couple of months, we've basically been chopping back and forth in a very, very sideways lanes, not getting any good overbought or oversold indicators. Every time we start to head in one, they quickly reverses and heads right back in the other direction. So basically, the NYMOT, which tracks the New York Stock Exchange, we can see we're right at neutral. And the NAMOT, which tracks the NASDAQ, we're right at neutral as well. You know, we just cannot get any type of big move here at this point. So, you know, it allows the markets to really, you know, keep doing what they're doing here. I look at them every night, Elizabeth. So these do not update until after the markets close. So you need to give them at least an hour, and sometimes it takes longer. When I did my webinar for the group on Thursday night, they hadn't updated yet. It was one of those rare nights, and that's why I was a little bit off. But I look at them every night. It takes me, you know, a couple of seconds to type in the name. It comes up on my chart, and I look at it. I post it on Twitter only when there's worth something, you know, at least once a week, but only when there's worth posting something about it. That makes sense? I'm not going to post on you on, you know, there's no reason to post here at this point. It's not doing anything. The VIX. So this looks like a noisy chart, but this is the VIX. This is going back a year. So the first thing was, if you guys weren't paying attention on Thursday, we actually had the beginning of panic in the stock markets. In that sell-off on Thursday, the VIX spiked like we haven't seen it spike in a while. And of course, it came way off of it again, right? It didn't hold, but there was panic starting to set in. They had pushed and pushed hard enough. One thing I've noticed about the VIX here is every time it pops out of the Bollinger Band, it reverts. You can see, look at the circles. It likes to revert back to within them. We continue to play in a very low volatility market. Even though we're getting a lot more volatility intraday, overall volatility is very low on the VIX, with the VIX and on the SPY. So the Qs, guys, let's start here because this has been the crux of the problem. This has been the name that has, you know, this has been the area that they've been really hammering on. This chart is getting real bearish here. So when I look at this chart right now, I've outlined support around 135.50 from that previous low was. We have support right where we are right now where the low was today. You can see we've hit that area a couple times, which is that 137 area. We are below the 50-day. We've lost the 8 and 21-day for a long time now. We can't regain them. And the 50-day now has become resistance. You see we moved right to it and stopped and reversed off of it today, on yesterday. Jack, this is Mike Pinzani. Mike, Jack. I've recorded this. It'll be on my option. It'll be on my Twitter feed later on today. So you can see we're getting weak under there. I would look for support at that 135.50 area. And if we can't hold there, that gap below becomes your next area of support at 133.50. Until something changes here, we are in a bearish mode in technology. The only good news is earnings are coming, and that can change things quickly. But right now, I think we're bearish here. On the SPY, the SPX, right? The SPX, which is holding in, it's getting loose and fast. We are getting very loose and fast here at this point. So right now, we've lost the 8-day and the 21-day on the SPY. We continue to hold the bottom of the Bollinger Band and revert back into it on the closes. We do have support right a little above that 2400 level. In fact, we kind of tagged it almost the other day on that pull. So just start watching, see what we want to do. Like, you know, the market looks like it's slowly rolling over here. We have a series of lower highs coming into the market. Good morning, Arthur. Hey, Scott. We're going to be going over individual names in a couple minutes. We're just going over sentiment here. So again, SPY starting to look a little bit more bearish at this point. Nothing huge, but just starting to get there. The IWM is the only one that's different. It's trying to get to that all-time high, which is that blue line just above here. It's holding the 8-day, and at this point, they continue to try to rotate into small caps. So I would continue to watch small cap space and look for rotation into the IWM. If this starts to really break, then I think the rest of the markets are in trouble at this point. So as we head into this week, we have a traditionally very light volume week. The one thing I want to point out is Monday is the first day of the new quarter. Typically, we see inflows of the mutual funds, and typically it's a bullish day, at least the morning. It's a half day on Monday. We're open to 1. We're closed on Tuesday. And then you got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have no idea what we're going to do next week. I do think we have a bullish open for the market in the morning, and after that, who knows? Before you go out and buy weekly options, remember you're going to have a day and a half of decay where you can't use them. Elizabeth, IWM is banks, small caps, biotech, and anything, energy, and a lot of small energy names. Correct. All right. So you guys want to see option flow for the week, and that's where we're going to go here. So let me pull that up for you, and let me get my information up, and we'll start going over some of this here. Okay. Yes, CMF is on top. So you can see I have it right here. Whoever's asking there, Fred. Okay, so first name I want to bring you guys to is Low. Here on Monday, Low, we picked up a big September 77.50 call buyer. I tried this. I got stopped out for a very minimal game that day. You can see it's been weak, but now finally it woke up a little bit on Friday and is trying to retake the 8-day. I think this is something you can try here and move forward with. You can try this one. It looks like it wants to try to bounce. It's been holding the 200-day. If it can hold the 8-day, I would look for a move up to this, the 21-day and the top of this candle, which should come in about the same place here. Is you're comfortable selling options, Elizabeth? Absolutely. You've already seen a lot of premium selling by the big guys selling premium on options out of the money. So Low is a name I like here moving forward at this point. I would keep a track of that one. Gilead. Gilead has had flow in it nonstop since it broke out and moved, and now it's holding right on the 200-day. They started hitting the January 72.50 calls. They've also come into the August 472 calls, and then the January 80 calls. You can see them coming in every day into this name lately, buying into this here. This name has had a long, long downtrend. It just broke above it. So this is a name that could get going here. It's a name I would put on my watch list and keep track of. If it can hold the 8-day, this might be worth buying, especially maybe some longer term options for a big break on this one. Don, I already talked about that. I do not trade many weekly options in the summer. I usually go out and try to buy at least a month, if not more, depending upon what type of move I'm looking for. I check insider money flow all the time, every time I'm looking into it. So keep an eye on Gilead. Another name in the biotech space is Biomarin, oops, BMRN. You guys know I can't type. And the reason I'm bringing this one up is Biomarin, another name that's been sideways for a long time. It has an uptrend here, and it's held it. It keeps holding it. See how it keeps coming into it on the 1 year? Very tight. Has a great pipeline, a lot of orphan drugs in it. And it's very unusual that this name gets option flow, and it picked up a January 18 call buyer, January 100 call buyer, almost $400,000 worth the other day. It almost sees no option flow. So when I see flow into a name like this, it gets my attention. I actually trying to buy a couple of these out in time. Not a lot, just a few of them. I like it. I do own the common stock. I've owned it for a long time. I am a big believer in this name, so I'm not telling anything I'm not there. I'm not into myself on that one. JD. JD, they've been buying this one ever since it broke out here. Every time on the dip, they buy it, and they came back some more earlier this week. And they came in and hit the August 40 calls, about 200,000 of them. It still looks like it's trying to rebuild. China names are a little out of vogue at this point. If it can hold the 50-day here, this is something I would take a shot on, the August 40s, but it has to hold the 50-day. It's also happened to be a support, right? You can see you have a couple candles here. You got a nice area of support right here where it's at. So keep an eye on that. For those asking, the webinar will be put on my Twitter feed, Option Mike, at Option Mike. It'll be on there later on. I have not, Fred, played with the unusual option volume on the TOS platform. I look at some of the stuff, but I don't use that. Disney has been a horrific stock since it hit 116. Earnings were sold off, it keeps coming down. It toyed with breaking the 200 here. I was talking about this earlier this week to people in the subscription that if it can't retake the 200-day quick, it's in trouble. Not only did it retake it, it finally caught a call buyer, caught a January 115 call buyer, about 250,000 of them. That's up here. If it can hold here, this is a name I would take as well long term. So I like Disney here. I would take this one long term as well. Again, the thing I'm trying to press here is long-term trades. Hess, another name that has been death, but has picked up multiple call sweepers this week. And one of the things I've been saying is that they've been going very selectively into energy names. So Hess caught January 47.50 call buyers, September 45 call buyers, and August 45 call buyers. It's had a nice 3-day move here. Oil's gone up. It's back above the 21-day. See if it can let the 8-day catch up a little bit. See if you can take this one. This might be nice. This is not a name I'd fall in love with, but it's something I would try to ride here, maybe up to the 45 area if it can get going. Also in that space, NFX, another energy name, Newfield, they caught a big call buyer. They caught a buyer of the July 30 calls, and this got pumped on halftime by the Nigerians, and it's kind of hanging here on the 8-day. So another name I might take a look at to see if this can go someplace at this point. Retail space has been active a little bit, guys. Walmart. So this was the Amazon buying Whole Food Market gap down. They've been buying calls into this, and they're still coming after this. They just hit the January 77.50 calls. It was over $1 million worth of options bought on the January 77.50 calls. It got into its gap twice, couldn't hold. If it can get and hold above the 8-day, I would try this one for a move up to the gap and maybe into it at this point. Walmart, I think, is better positioned than the other guys long term because they compete against Amazon online. So I think if a name's going to bounce back, Walmart has a better chance here. Small profit strategy, Randy, very simple for me right now. If I go into position and I get a 20% profit, I'm going to take it, at least most of it off and maybe leave a runner at that point during summertime. I'm not looking for home runs here unless I see something different on really unusual option flow. Those blue arrows, Arthur, mark where option flow came in, so I can see it, so I can see clusters of it. Elizabeth, long-term strikes, I usually follow the flow. So like the Disney, they were buying the January 115s, right? I would take a look at those. If I wasn't looking to go out that far in time, I would look at maybe, like, let's go back to Disney real quick. If I didn't want to buy the ones they bought, January 115s, I may come up and say, okay, maybe I'll go with the 110 calls because I think they trade in 5 increments. Often, yep. There you go. Not always, guys. And I mean, again, sometimes I'll look at this and say, I don't want to go out that far in time. That's too big of a move and there's not enough delta. So maybe I'll go with the August 110s. Make sense? If I wanted to play Disney shorter term. Okay. JD, that is the ATR trailing stop. I've gone over that a couple times and I'll put that online for another presentation. I don't think we have time for it today. Hain has been beaten up. It finally reported earnings for the first time in over a year, had good earnings, got a big gap up, and saw call buying into the gap up. They were buying November 43 calls and July 41s. So see how it deals with this gap up. It's back above all the moving averages. Look how quickly it regained them all because they were flat here. Long term, and guys, I'm trying to spend a little extra time with these charts with you guys today because we're going to summer. Long term, it has a big ass gap right here. So you can see the size of this gap it has. So first things first, I would play it for a move to the gap, which is right around 41. And then I would look to play it into the gap. Just realize it's going to get overbought real quick as it gets up there. Lulu was another name I've been talking to you guys about this week. I told you it was trying to get into that gap. It did. It pushed in. It's right back at the 200-day. And this week, we saw them come into the July 61 calls. And they came into the September. They did a big call spread. September 57.50 by 70 call spread in Lulu. Very big, wide call spread, and you'll see why. You got a big gap here. So somebody is thinking that this thing can go this all the way up by September. The one thing I know, Elizabeth, I got hit on Hain too. I hear your pain. One thing I like about Lulu here is there's been rumor of going private, and I think it actually has a better chance than most. I was trying on yesterday to buy the January 65 calls on this. I did not fill. I will go back on Monday, and if any drop, I will take them as well. So I like this name for a possible buyout candidate long term. By the way, when you play buyout candidates, guys, you don't have to go big. Go small. Buy a couple of them, because if it hits, you're in the money. You're going to do great. Make sense? All right, Square. No call buying on Square this week. But Square picked up a big, big put seller. The January 18 puts. Somebody came in and was willing to take ownership down here. This name has been acting well since its last earnings. You have earnings coming very shortly. It's consolidating nicely. This is a name I'd have on my radar long term here at this point, but I'd wait for earnings to come. No, JD, I generally do not do spreads. I have not traded spreads well. It's just not how I don't trade well there. It's my trading style. So that doesn't mean you can't. I know a lot of people who are excellent spread traders. I don't do well. So take it for what it's worth. That's, it's recognizing who you are. KMX, I want to point this one out here and pull it back to Why do I like KMX here? We had earnings, and since earnings, they've come in and they nailed it a bunch of times. They did the October 6250 calls, almost 500,000 of them. Then they hit the August 60 calls, a couple 100,000 of them, and they kept coming into those, and then they came into the August 65s. I like when I see a lot of option flow post earnings and the name is held in. That tells me people like that here. So I would keep an eye on KMX CarMax. I like that one. I think that's playable here. Tesla, guys. So this is where I look at and I say, I need to tell you about this because if I don't and it goes, you guys are going to be like, well, why didn't you say this? So they were buying this week November 490 calls in Tesla. Let that sink in. They were buying November 490 calls in Tesla a couple of times. They were also buying next week's 390s, the week after 410s. There was a lot of lotto plays in Tesla into what's going on Sunday, but that big bet into the 490s in November. Somebody's thinking we're going to get a big move here. So just something to put in the back of your head if you think you like Tesla. Don, I almost always buy at the money calls. That's usually where I play. Elizabeth, I am always looking at weekly charts. I'm looking at big time trades and seeing where everything's at, especially during summer, and looking for, can I get a grinding type trade out of it? Anthony, I do have leaps on GE that I've had since the beginning of the year. They're underwater. I haven't added to them. I didn't buy big. I usually go small with those, and then sometimes I trade around them, and GE's giving me, not GE, GM, give me no reason to buy any leaps at this point. All right, CAT. I want to bring up CAT because I took a loss on CAT on Thursday's action when I saw it. So I chased CAT on Thursday. They bought this week's 108 calls on Thursday. It went from green to red. I got stopped out. I took a loss. Came all the way down and held the 21-day, and boy, did it move nicely yesterday. I don't think this name's done. So I would keep an eye on that. There's a July 110 call buyer that from back here, this day here, that is still sitting out there in open interest. They haven't taken profits. So I would keep a strong eye on that one here. CRM has been catching a ton of call buying, and they've been coming into the September 95 call specifically. We've seen September 90s. I even think we saw some hundreds pour out this week as well. So somebody has been coming in. We're not talking little. We're talking about $3+ million worth of call buying in the last week and a half into CRM. So somebody here is playing something. There's something going on. Billion with a B, Brandon. Billion with a B. That's big. This is a name that doesn't catch a lot of option flow often, and it's catching big time buying into here. So it's on my radar. The stock is not acting well though, right? Like the rest of the Qs, it's down underneath the 50-day, under the 8, the 21, but it's not falling apart. There's been a buyout rumor on the name. It would have to be somebody big to buy them out. But then again, I would have bet you LinkedIn wouldn't have got bought out last summer, and I made a boatload off of that. So I'm looking at this point to maybe take some long-term options on this one on a flyer. Probably will be looking at the September or 95s, or maybe out a little further at this point. Yeah, Blinked was a good one. Last one before we go into your charts, and we'll answer some more of your questions there. Micron. Micron had earnings yesterday. Obviously, earnings weren't bad. They just nothing spectacular. You saw profit taking and brought it right to the 50-day, and the 50-day caught this one to the penny. Why do I'm looking at Micron? Because we had call sweepers come in on multiple occasions yesterday. July 14th, 29 calls, $500,000. They came back and did it again for another $200-something thousand. And then they hit the August 4th, 29 calls for about $600,000. Yes, they're buying in the money. But I can understand why they're buying in the money, because this name doesn't move big, so they probably want the delta here. My point is somebody came in, and we have over $1 million, or probably about $1.3 million worth of institutional call buying into Micron. Now, we've seen massive call buying into Micron. There we go. Throughout this period, massive amount. So I don't know, something to keep an eye on down here if the semi sector holds in here. All right, so what's some of your questions? I'm sorry, millions with an M. Sorry, Brandon, millions with an M. I did say billions. You're right. I was wrong there. I don't want to get you guys wrong. Is there a scanner alert platform for big money flow into options? I use Trade Alert, which almost everybody does. How do you set a stop loss on your options, Don? You go in and you put a stop in. You say, I'm only willing to lose X amount, and you pick a number and you put it in. And then you tell it to do a market trade once it hits that. Very important, put a market trade, otherwise you will not get filled if they're getting a big sell-off. Indexes, I do buy. I don't generally buy long-term on the indexes, Anthony. I usually just do individual names. I do trade the indexes, but right now in this range, I haven't been touching. Okay, so that was the flow for the week that I like moving forward here. I hope that helps you guys a little bit, gives you an idea of some things you can go look at going into next week, right? Some things you can check out. I've got a lot of people in the room. I do want to briefly talk about my service offering, then I'm going to dive into your charts for the last 15 minutes or so. So if you sign up for my service, you get unusual, exclusive access to me, mentoring, and daily recaps. So every day I send out a video. I send it out just as the market's closing, so I shoot it as the market's coming to a close that day. And it basically recaps the day's actions in the market and the option flow and what I traded and everything else that went on that day. Every Thursday night at 6 o'clock Eastern, we do a live coaching webinar. You get a half hour of my time. I usually pick a topic to go over, and what's told is that we answer any questions you guys have and just go over positions or what you're in or what you're looking at and what I like and don't like or what I really think is going on in the markets at that point. And then every third Saturday of the month, we do a boot camp at noon Eastern time, where we come in and we do deeper dive into trading and what's going on and how to get in and out of positions when you're in trouble, and basically just go over things you're having issues with or what you need to learn to really trade options in this market. To sign up, please go to alphashark.com, best offer, best coaching. The first month is $99, guys. You will not be disappointed. I put out 5 videos a week, weekly webinar. You get a lot of access to my time. Plus, I do answer my emails to everybody there. It renews at $149 a month, and we are now including an educational workshop subscription at no additional charge. By the way, if you're a member of Alpha Shark's trading room, there is a special rate. Just hit me up on email or in the room for that rate. Guys, I really hope you all take a shot and come out and give me a tryout. You won't be disappointed. I guarantee I will give you enough stuff to make your money back. Every night I put together a list of every options that have been traded, puts as well. By the way, the reason we're not talking about puts here because all the puts in nature have been mostly protective in nature right now as we move into this period. So that said, do you guys have any more questions for me at this point? No? Then it's time to look at your charts, guys. So you want me to look at some charts for you guys? Yep, option Mike, right here, I'll pull it up. Options, right there. I'll even put it. Yeah, baby powder. All right. So start shouting out your charts and see whatever charts you want me to take a look at here. Let's take a look at some of them. WTW. Oh, Elizabeth, I didn't know you would ask me about that one. You've had that one for a nice ride. So Weight Watchers, guys, has been incredible stock. The power of the Oprah has been unbelievable in this thing at this point. Beautiful dip to buy here, and it has not looked back. If you're long it, you stay long it here, but you put stop in. Yeah, it looks like it's flagging here, Elizabeth, right? So I like to look at patterns. Flagged, went, flagged. Needs to burn off a little bit of the overheated on the RSI here. So that's really what it's doing. Thanks, Tien. So I like it. I would not be initiating here, but I may scalp it. Earnings have to be coming soon, Elizabeth. Just be aware of that. You need to decide if you want to hold it into earnings at this point. Will. Boy, this is a name that picks up ton of option flow, and we picked up nothing on it this week. Just to put that out there for you. So Will, like most of its sector in the energy, looks completely horrible here. It is trying to reclaim the 8-day. It is trying to bounce here. A lot of times you need to just come in and say, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to try it? I think this is an area on energy names that you can maybe try a small dip buy, dip your toe in. Could we go lower? Yeah, we can still keep going lower. Oil bounced this week. We were up to 40. After hours, we hit 46, 35. And so if oil can bounce, energy names will bounce. But if oil comes right back down, all these names will be in trouble again. X, you know I love me some X. I'm still long my August 25 X calls. I almost sold some and bought them back the other day. So what's going on with X is we're waiting for Trump to announce his tariffs on Chinese steel. You have a nice gap right here to fill. I am playing for a move to the gap, not necessarily a gap fill at this point. Friday's candle was a little bit yucky. I think what happened here is there was a lot of call buying into weeklies. They thought that Trump was going to announce his tariffs before the week ended, and he didn't, and I think you saw some money flow out because of that. See how this responds here? It trades wide and loose. It's at the top of the Bollinger Band. Might give you a very nice dip buy if you're not long it here. In the steel names, I saw a lot of rolling around the positions this on yesterday, Don. So I have to look at open interest on Monday to see what they did. The blue are not. I put them in there, Arthur. Those blue arrows on my charts, I have to manually put those in there. But I do it, and I just sit there and take care of it. Loco. Oh, El Pollo Loco? I remember this chart. It's been a while since I looked at it. It's funny. These little restaurant names are starting to make a comeback. That was earnings? Oh, they have earnings coming, right? Right here, you have earnings coming. Probably next week. And it sold off here. I don't play earnings on names, so and I don't advise people to do it, but that's your call. You obviously have some resistance right up. Why is my chart so big? Okay. You obviously have resistance right up at this 1440 level here, and the support would probably be around the 50-day when that comes up and hits it at this point. Home Depot. My friend always used to say Home Depot, America's favorite bondage store. He was always a strange one. Home Depot is trying to bounce here. It sold off on earnings. It's trying to regain the 8-day. It got to the 21, rejected, and closed right on the 8. I like this name. I think it's getting sold off on no particularly bad news, but doesn't seem like they want to play here right now. That said, if we can start retaking and take it back above the moving averages, I'd look to get involved in it again here at that point. Home Depot, Loco, NVIDIA. Guys, a lot of people keep asking me about NVIDIA here. NVIDIA, it's just had a huge run. I've talked about this in the service a couple times. My theory on a lot of these names is remember for a lot of this spring, a couple names held the markets up. They were trading in these 12 names or so. These names like NVIDIA and Amazon and Baba, they became big pieces of their portfolio, and they had to trim it to get back into acceptable size limits, and I think we've seen that. So when I look at NVIDIA here, it's been steadily selling off here. It's given back, about a third of the move it had at this point, and it's kind of coming into a support area in the bottom of the Bollinger Band. See if it can hold. If it can hold the Bollinger Band in this area, I think it can go. Do I have a chart? I knew I have a chart on this. Why am I even talking like this? There we go. All right, it kind of has support right here at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. So if we can hold this area, I'd look for a bounce and maybe a move back up into earnings. Markets have to hold in, guys. No matter what I say here, the markets have to hold in, right? CLVS. You guys already know I've been talking up biotech. I like biotech. I think they're trying to rotate in. This name looks great right now after going this big move. It's holding the gap and it's holding the 8-day. The longer it consolidates, the more I like it here. Okay, so if you want to go long, just find out when earnings are before you do so. I do like this name here. I think it looks pretty good up here. Cara got destroyed. Bad news. I don't know anything about the stock, but when you have a bad drug, when you have a big name drug goes bad or gets rejected, you had it big selling here. It could go lower. I would just avoid it here unless you really want to short it. If you're in it, I hope you have a profit in it. If not, you put it to a long-term hold here. NVIDIA we went over. Costco is a name I played this week. I had a very nice trade on it. And I'm looking to try to get back in on Monday. So it is a name on my radar for this week. It is holding the 200-day. Now you can say it's a bear flag, right? And I would agree with you. You got a bear flag here. The 8-day is coming down. I'm watching to see what happens when the 8-day and a candle comes together here, which should happen about Monday. If it can hold here, I think this is overdone. I really do. I think this Walmart, the Amazon news, while it's big, I don't think it's as bad for Costco as everybody thinks it is, and I'm looking to play a bounce on Costco here. Celgene is one of my favorite names in the biotech space. It got nailed with a downgrade yesterday, guys. So I came in, they downgraded it. It was holding the 8-day and flagging nicely, and we'll have to see what it does here. If I was to want to play it here, do I have it? Perfect. I'll grab a chart for you, give it a sec to reload. All right. If I really wanted to play with it here, and I thought we were going to be strong, it needs to hold the breakout for me. So right in this area. Really needs, oh, you're welcome, William, always. It needs to hold this area if you want to stay in it. If it holds the breakout, the 21 days should get up to there, it'd be great. It could reverse on Monday and go the other direction. Remember, these guys, somebody downgrades it, somebody else upgrades it. We get back and forth action on these names here. Excel, yep. We can look at that one. Another name looks really good here, flagging nicely. Again, the only thing you got to do, guys, on all these names right now is find out when the earnings dates are, look into them, find out when they are here, okay? But I do like this chart. It looks nice. It's flagging right at highs. I don't know if this is all-time highs, but it's certainly a 52-week high, and that's real bullish to me. The longer it flags here, the more likely I think this thing goes. Brandon, I don't use fibs. I have a friend who's very good at it and believes in it. I look at support on the charts. I look for where a lot of pivots on candles line up, tops and bottoms or wicks. For me, the more, when I draw a line, the more places I can touch, the better. So whether it's a wick, the top of a candle, bottom of a candle, whatever it is, the more I can touch, the better. Yep, I like the bios here. Can we look at Trivago, TRVG? Yes, we can. I haven't looked at that one since it came out. So here is this. Wow. Brandon, nice look. So the problem with names like this one at this point, it's hard to understand it. Technically, we don't have a lot to go on, right? It's in blue sky country. It's only been IPO'd for a little while. It's heated, but hot names can stay heated, right? We know that, especially in IPO. What I would be watching for here is you have Priceline earnings, and help me out, Expedia coming up. Those could play into this. So I wouldn't chase a candle like Fridays where it's real extended, but if it reconnects with the 8-day and holds, I would try it there. Remember, it always has to hold. Target. Come on, Target. They've been some sporadic call buying into this name. They got hit hard as well. Unlike Walmart that has a big online presence, Target does not. It's trying to rebuild here, but this theme has been in trouble for a while now. You got a big downtrend here, big gappy name. You got 1, 2, 3 gaps now here in this name in the last 6 months. I don't have a good feel for Target, guys. I'll be honest with you. I'm not really looking to trade it here. It may be a great long down here, but I don't know. GPS. Another one is one of these retail names. Somebody, they've been trying to pull bottoms in these names for a while and they keep failing. The only thing I'll tell you is it's at support area. It's a decent area for it to hold if it wants to, right? Right around here. And you can see how it's flirting with that area, right? If it can't hold there, right here. Why? Because you have the bottom candle here and you also have the tops. All right, so you can draw it a little closer like that. You see you have a couple candles coming in there. So I just don't know on Gap. I don't know on retail. Retail continues to be horrible. I have a friend who basically his job is to come in and take these companies through bankruptcy. And he just keeps telling me stories that unfortunately I can't repeat, but do not give me a lot of hope in that space right now. Don, IPOs are tough, but if you want to play IPOs, you got to play it from candle to candle to start, right? What's Blue's? What is Blue Apron's symbol, Don? I know we're not going to have anything here, but somebody tell me what their symbol is. I don't remember. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So if you're going to play an IPO, so you have to establish support candle to candle right now. So day one, you got a big topping tail telling you that it was overpriced and they sold it off. Day two, they sold it down more. So now you have support here is your 916 area, right? 917. We're right at 934. So depending on how we open, if you want to try it, you got to trade this on a short time frame. I put it on a 5-minute wind chart and go from there with it. And I would put in tight stop losses on these things, okay? So no more than $150 loss max on 1,000 shares. Capisce? IPOs, one of them, AA and CRX. So yes, we saw a big, I forgot to put AA. AA had big call buying this week as well. You got a downtrend here. You can see it's clearly established at this point. Right there. Boom. Quick draw line. You have a downtrend that's established. If it can break that downtrend, I like it. They have earnings coming, so it might wait for that or maybe get a little run into it. But does not look bad. They also would be a benefactor of the tariffs for steels because they'll probably do something on aluminum as well. CNX, we've seen flow into that one as well, and it's bounced up nicely, kind of like that. This one doesn't have a downtrend. It has an uptrend going here. You have resistance up here at 17. Another name I would play to keep moving off of that. Deere. Big move off of earnings, has not come close to the gap, so that's good. Holding the bottom of the Bollinger Band and close back above the 8-day. This is a name I'd look for rotation into, guys, like CAT. A lot of these little names like this, they don't seem to want anything to do with tech right now, so look elsewhere. Maybe they come into these, industrial type names. I like the look here. If this can hold the bottom of the Bollinger Band and get above the 8-day, I think this can run back to highs. Nice look. Oh yeah, Brandon, they will. BABA, I am still long a couple BABA 145 calls next week, way underwater on them. The only thing I did smart with BABA is I added to my trade, got more money back, and then sold most of them and just held on Wednesday and just held a feeler. At this point, BABA is still trying to hold the 8-day, but is slowly rolling over here. They continue to buy calls on it, but nothing that has me interest. Money has left here. Here's your CMF indicator. You can see money has flown out, maybe coming in, but nothing big at this point. BABA just consolidating. As long as it continues to hold this gap at 135, it's not a bad long. At this point, it's just wide and fast and very difficult to trade. BX. Blackstone. Nice looking chart with the financials. By the way, I do love the financials. You guys didn't ask anything about the financials here, huh? Love the financials. This looks great. Earnings coming, very tight. Look how tight the Bollinger Band's on. You're about to get a big move one way or the other in this one. So just get prepared. And since we only have a couple minutes, I'm going to take you guys on a tangent. Haha, maybe I'll hate some of your names and maybe I won't. But I do want to go over the fins. Why? Because I think the fins are a place they're looking to go. Starting Monday, the fins can do large buybacks. They've all been approved. This is the first time in about 10 years they've been able to do buybacks in their stocks. This will be very big for them. This is going to help set a floor under them. They're going to be doing big buybacks on these things going forward right away. So XLF, big move, still holding, still extended off the 8-day. Let the 8-day come up. If it holds the top of this area, this resistance breakout area, I think we're ignited for a move higher, a grind higher in the banks to that one. JP Morgan has been best in breed. So Brandon, you'll get to yours. Elizabeth, I'm going to go to GS in a second. I did not miss that. Best in breed. Look how well it's holding. It came out of the Bollinger Band. It's flagging here. Your high here is at 93. I think it's only a matter of time before it gets there. A little heated. Goldman Sachs, they have not wanted anything to do with Goldman Sachs. They continue to sell this off. I continue to like this name as a catch-up play, Elizabeth. But you see where the XLF and GS were up and high. Goldman Sachs hit resistance. This is not a new line. This has been here for a while. It sold off at resistance and is now back on the 8 and the 21 and the 50-day. I would look to play it here, Elizabeth. I will be looking at this next week to buy it here at support. By the way, the 200-day, look at every time it hits it, it bounces. If this thing gets to the 200-day, take a shot. Put a stop in below it, but take a shot at it. All right? Yep, FAS is a good proxy to play if you want to play with them. FAS is the triple leverage. You can play this with common, and it works very, very good. Thanks for pointing that out, Mark. I love the FAS, right? Coming in, holding the 8-day. There's been call buying on this one as well, just nothing big. C holds in great too. C is a name. I'm going to go to my long-term chart, guys. I posted this. Guys, C is just starting. So look at C. This thing's just starting to go. It's nowhere near all-time highs. Let's look at some other names. Bank of America. Bank of America, another name they keep coming after. Really still has a ways to go to get back to all-time highs here. JP Morgan is right there, right? So they, you just got to put things in perspective. Goldman Sachs. Again, we're on weekly charts here. Goldman Sachs is right there. So I'm looking for plays that are a little bit better, a little bit more room to run. We're down to a minute or two. Don, these retail names all look horrible for the most part, but we'll take a quick look at one of them or two. I just need to get a chart here just to switch this off. Macy's. Looks horrible. Earnings are coming again. You got a double bottom here, Don, but it's bounced already. I wait to see what it does as it gets to the top of the Bollinger Band. I don't really like any of the retailers right now, to be honest with you. I'm not saying they can't work. It's just not a focused area for me right now. Nordstrom trying to hold in a little better, holding the 200-day tightly here. This one, maybe you can get a little bit of a bump here back up to the 50 area. We'll see. It definitely looks better than some of the other charts. I got to give you that. And all right, guys. So we are out of time today. CMF indicator. Oh God, I have to do a class. I've done a class on that before. There's a webinar. If you go back through my feed, you'll find that there. My favorite stock for next week, probably going to be one of the financials or Caterpillar. I like those. I will scalp names like Amazon or Tesla. Let me just put this one. Last one, guys, and then I'm out. Tesla, I will look at on Monday. And the reason is, we talked about this at the beginning of the webinar. Who can answer this? Come on. Who was paying attention? Why will Tesla be on my radar on Monday morning? Not the 490 calls. Better reason. Come on. Sunday announcement. Thank you, Elizabeth. News. There's going to be volume. Either way, we're going to have volume in Tesla, whether it's up or down. Yeah, but he also has delivery numbers. He's going to tweet when he's delivering his new model, but we're also going to get delivery numbers so far for the month or whatever. So there's going to be volume in Tesla on Monday morning, guys, so I will be looking to play that. Guys, I appreciate it. Everybody, if you like, please, if you're not a member, give my subscription a try, alphasharks.com/bestcoaching. If you guys have any questions, email or tweet me. And everybody have a great holiday weekend. And I will catch you guys all on Monday. I'll be in for a half a day and then see you on Wednesday. Happy 4th, guys. Thank you guys for joining me on this Sunday morning. Greatly appreciated. I'll catch you later. Mike at alphashark.com. There you go. Sent you all. And here. There you go. I will post this webinar once it's done processing. Guys, have a good one. Thank you very much.